Bosh! Hello and welcome to another episode of the Hotspur Huddle. We are back, ladies and gents. It's 2 weeks in a row, man. It's all me. I'm actually back doing things. But with me tonight, I'm joined by the fabulous guests once again. That is Wes and Nelson. So Wes, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm all right. Obviously, got my rant out on the Park Lane podcast on Sunday regarding the game. So yeah, not too bad. A little bit cold because I've been out coaching. It's absolutely Baltic out there. So anybody that is out, I suggest you get in pretty quick. But no, looking forward to getting through this one tonight. We've got a lot to get through, so it should be a good show as always.
Oh yes, it should be a good one. And I'm also joined by Nelson. Nelson, how are you?
I'm good, Hollie. It's good to be back again. Like you said, 2 weeks in a row. I actually blame Cole Palmer for the weather being cold because he missed that penalty. So I blame him because the summertime was coming out. So it is what it is, but we're back talking football.
Oh yes, and like always, this show on a Wednesday is sponsored by the amazing Kofet. Now I have managed to jazz things up. I just haven't gone as far as doing that yet. So Wes, go ahead, do your thing.
Yeah, that's probably the reason we were late, Holly, is because you were jazzing things up backstage almost. But yeah, Kickoff Football Academy or Kofa MK run lots and lots of different football sessions across Milton Keynes for young boys and girls. So if there is anybody in Dele Alli, Leah Williamson or Kevin Danso country that has a young budding footballer, then please send them our way because we would love to help them along their footballing journey.
Bosh. So make sure you go check out Kofa on everything to get involved with Kickoff Academy. But like you say, we're here. Everybody's tuning in. Welcome, everybody. Bosh. We've got a full house, Wes. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
But let's get things started because obviously it wouldn't be a Hotspur Huddle without the return of the tactics board. So we're going to throw it up on the screen. And I kind of want you to run me through kind of what went wrong in that kind of 2-2 draw.
God, where do you want me to start, Holly? There was a lot that went wrong. I think decision making on the ball was a key feature. But one thing that I did want to highlight, right, and this was something that really, really wound me up, was goal kicks. So Vicario, in particular, like I say, really, really wound me up on Sunday. So he would literally get the ball, all of a sudden place it down and play to a centre-back. But the thing was, the full-backs are still turning and going the opposite way on both sides. So you've only really got three players that are actually ready. And it was Van der Ven when he came on, or Danso, Romero, and Bentancur or Basuma in here. So, like I say, that was really annoying and really frustrating because everybody else is trying to get themselves set and we're still trying to play. So the ball would come to the centre-back here, and all of a sudden, because, we weren't set, Bournemouth did really well in terms of their pressing. They like to press high. It's a feature of Iraola's game and how he wants Bournemouth to play. So it literally just made life really easy for Bournemouth because they were able to just go, right, well, we'll stick somebody there. Ball goes in there. All of a sudden, Evan Nilsson would block off that pass in there. You had Semenyo on the right-hand side that was blocking off the pass to the left-back. And then it would be a case of having to go back to Vicario. And then it's like, right, well, what are we going to do? Well, Vicario would then have to go long and it's a turnover. So that really frustrated me. What also frustrated me was when Tottenham had and literally just regained possession. So, for example, I'll use Bentancur in this scenario here. Porro would just fly forwards here. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, I'm all for fullbacks coming in to the pitch, inverting to create an overload, but do it when your team have safe possession. And what I mean by that is a string of passes. Like, we couldn't pass flipping 5 yards on Sunday, but it was literally like, right, we'd get it back off a regain. All of a sudden, Porro's like, yeah, I'm going. And then I think it was a feature for the first goal. Obviously, Kirkes nicks it, and Porro is absolutely miles off it. Kirkes runs down the line, and I mean, he puts in an absolutely sublime cross for Tavernier. But it's just the fact of, like, Porro, what you doing? Where you going? Like, you don't just fly forward. So everybody that's going on and blaming Ange for it, oh, well, the fullbacks are miles off it because, they're always out of position. Well, no, it's the time in which they go. It's not like I say, you don't just fly forward when we've just regained the ball. you fly or you invert when there's safe possession for the team, and you've got a string of say 5-6 passes, and then you come in and create the overload to then go and penetrate. But those two things in particular really annoyed me and really frustrated me on Sunday, to the point where it was just absolutely doing my head in.
I think it's spot on because, like you said, I don't think Poirot had the best of games. And like you say, it's the way he bombs forward, because sometimes he does it well and he puts a great cross in, but there's a when to do it, and he hasn't really grasped that just yet, I don't think. And obviously for you, Nelson, in a sense of like, I don't know if you watched the game or you saw, but obviously you would have probably have liked the result, us kind of drawing to Bournemouth. What have you kind of made of Bournemouth so far this season?
Oh, they've been exceptional. I think you've got to give credit to the manager. I think he's done a fantastic job. And I think his recruitment has been quite impressive as well to bring in the players that he has. I think Evan Nilsson was kind of... I think people didn't know... If you don't know ball, I don't think people knew who Evan Nilsson was before signing for Bournemouth. But he fits them really well. And I think he was really crucial as well when they beat City, I think 2-0 back at their stadium. And he's been out for a while, but dealing with the injuries, they've been really... I think they've even gotten better since dealing with the injuries, such as people like Evan Nilsson. And obviously, I think the win against Newcastle is probably a big highlight for them this season, because they went to St James's Park, where Newcastle were, bang on form and just dominated like they were like League One, in my opinion. I think they just blew them out of the water. And I think he's done really well to develop a lot of good players there as well. Kirkes is one of them. I think Kirkes has been a fantastic left back for them. And then you've obviously got their attacking players. They've got a flurry of attacking players who I think can go on, in my opinion. I'd be very surprised if clubs don't go in for those attacking players in the summer, such as the likes of Kluivert, who has kind of had an up and down career, obviously carrying the name of his dad, but he's come in and I think he's found a stable place in Bournemouth. You've got Antoine Semenyo, who's obviously revealed that he's a gooner, but at the same time, I think he's been a standout this season. Evan Nilsson. I think I'm forgetting a couple of other players as well, but they've been fantastic. So to see where they are, I think it's been no surprise. Most people, I think, this season will ask the question if the Premier League has been bad or if Bournemouth have been really good. Like if the level of teams around them have been really poor. And I think a lot has also been asked for Liverpool about the fact that City have been poor rather than Liverpool being good. But in my opinion, I think you've got to give all the credit to Bournemouth. They've been fantastic. So they've been really good, Hollie. And I think this is a really good opportunity for them as a club to build on, because I think an investment group recently invested in them. And I think they're starting to see something coming from that. And I think it's a very good opportunity for the investment group and the club to move forward from this. So, yeah, that's my opinion.
100%. And I think as much as that kind of draw wound me up, Wes, like Nelson said, they are a brilliant team this season. And the goals they were kind of scoring as well. I'm going to put us back to this other screen as well.
I think the goal, I think for me, Bournemouth scored two unbelievably well worked team goals. One that was ruled out for offside, and everybody around me was going mental, and I was just going like, "Wow, what a goal! Like, what a goal!" And then obviously Evan Nilsson's goal. They've absolutely tore us apart, Bournemouth. But it's that thing of, I know perception about Bournemouth is changing because of the job Iraola's doing, but you would still think like it's Bournemouth at the end of the day. Like, should we really be getting torn apart at home by Bournemouth? No, but I think the job Iraola's doing is fantastic. Nelson mentioned the recruitment. It's been exceptional. Since he came in, and what I liked was they've got a good balance in the team. So you've got legs in midfield with the likes of Tyler Adams, who covers ground really well. Ryan Christie's a busy midfielder. But you've got the creative guile of Semenyo, Kluivert, and Tavernier, by the way. I usually give him a bit of stick because of his brother. But he balled out. He balled out on Sunday. It was just that receiving in the half spaces, opening out and just pinging it every time. And I think he can dovetail with Kluivert quite well. I think so. So they retain the width on the right hand side with Semenyo, but then on that left hand side, like I say, Tavernier sometimes pops out there. Kluivert will drift out there. You've also got the fact that Christie can also play slightly higher. So they've got a really nice balance, Bournemouth, with their team. And yeah, I think they are a team to probably look out for next season as well. It will be interesting to see who goes where, because I think there's going to be a lot of suitors, not only for the manager, but for the players. So it'll be interesting to see if they keep hold of their team and add to it. I think they're onto something. But I think Bournemouth typically is a stepping stone sort of club for players. So, I anticipate they may lose a couple. But listen, if they get a European spot, then the players might look at that and go, actually, we want to stay, we want to be part of it. And obviously, they've built a new training ground. I think there's plans for a new stadium in the works as well. So these American investors and owners are really putting their money where their mouth is and investing in the infrastructure as well as the team as well. And I think even somebody mentioned to me on Sunday that you could, because people were moaning about Tottenham's recruitment versus Bournemouth's recruitment, and it's like, well, it's not that hard. You can recruit well on a shoestring budget. It's just how you do it. And I think, I'm not saying Bournemouth have done it on a shoestring budget. They've spent a few quid. But I think there's ways in which you can recruit players and get someone to get the best out of them at the same time. And I think Iraola is doing that 100% really, really well at the moment. So yeah, Bournemouth are a team to look out for, I think, in the next year or two, 100%.
Agreed. And I think as well, obviously talking about doing well and investing in the right people. Nelson, I wasn't going to really talk about your kind of weekend game, but I think we might as well, in terms of obviously drawing to United. What's kind of going on at the moment with your league form currently?
Oh, I hate them. I flipping hate them. Because I don't know if you guys watched the game, but in the first half, I think Bruno Fernandes's free kick, beautiful free kick, and you can argue about how far the wall was. At the end of the day, you need the quality to put it in the back of the net, and Bruno is that type of player, and he did it as well against us in the FA Cup. Brilliant goal, but we tend to dominate possession, and we just can't seem to string, I think, clear-cut chances. There's these half chances that happen, but from the basis of the game, because I watched the game fully, and we had possession, and I think it was just against the run of play that Bruno scored, because it was at half time. You're thinking 0-0, okay, you've built up some possession, but there wasn't really any clear-cut chances. Now, obviously, second half, I think United felt more confident. I think they got back into the game as a result of that, in terms of actually, going toe-to-toe with us. I think 1-1 is a fair result. I don't think both teams looked like they were going to win the game. I think for me, it was a fair result. I think some Arsenal fans will say it was 2 points lost, but I think when you're thinking about the grand scheme of things, the title's already gone. And I think as well, a lot of people have posted like the difference in mentality between Liverpool and Arsenal, because I think Liverpool obviously came back from 1-0 down to beat Southampton, and their reaction to being level was simply getting the ball, running back, and trying to get a second goal. But then you got Declan Rice, who for me, I think is a brilliant he's a epitome of £100 million signing, because that last ditch tackle to save, to deny Højlund, I think was great. But I think Wes knows what I'm talking about, because when Rice scored, he instantly tries to hush the crowd. In my opinion, I just think you have to get the ball and go back, because you're trying. If the title is something that you believe in, then you have roughly a quarter of an hour left. Like, just get the ball, run back, and just go for it. I think it's their mentality, and I think to sum up the game, and probably where the team is at, is probably Arteta's post-match interview. I think Arteta's post-match interview, speaks volumes at where the club is at, and maybe where he's at, because to try and win a title 3 years in a row and obviously lose out on them and essentially bottle them twice, I think potentially his time people out in the air, and I think you have to throw it out in the air, because he's, like Wes mentioned about Bournemouth being a stepping stone. Arteta's probably helped Arsenal go a level up, but do you need someone else to get you over the line? That's the thing. But who knows? I think it was a fair result. I think 1-1 is the right result.
No, it is interesting, because like you say, it's quite nice, Wes, for once, for us not to have a therapy, to hear Nelson and his side of things at Arsenal. I am going to flip it on its head now, because obviously with our big game tomorrow, it is kind of Judgment Day, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Arsenal should have just stayed humble, really. That'd have been quite nice, wouldn't it? But yeah, I think obviously Judgment Day, if you like, for Spurs tomorrow. I think this is this is the biggest game of the season. It's a sense of win or bust for the manager, for the players, for even the fans, really, because atmosphere on Sunday was really flat, and it was just like it felt like a chore almost for a lot of the fans to be at the ground, and it's like we've turned up in our number, and I mean, don't get me wrong, as my dad said, we couldn't pass water on Sunday, to be fair, so that doesn't help the atmosphere. Like, we've got nothing really to cling on to, and we are in a difficult moment as a team and as a club. No more so now than hearing the news that Kev Danso is injured. Obviously, he pulled his hamstring, and I could tell that he wasn't right because of the 50-50 challenge in and around the box. Because I knowing him in the way that I do, and knowing his brother in the way that I do, I know his brother wouldn't have let him stand for that. Never mind himself. And he also missed a header. Now, Kev is a really dominant centre back. I think we've seen that in the games that he's played. He very rarely loses an aerial duel. So to see that, I was like, yeah, he's done. He's done. But the thing was, we couldn't take him off because we'd used all of our subs. And obviously would have been down to 10 men at that point. So, I mean, fair play to him for lasting and kind of getting through. But obviously now it's come at a little bit of a cost. So I think, Ange has just got to go for it, go full strength, get into the players' heads, and, say to them, just go out there, give everything, and fight for every ball. Because I think if we do that, minimum, the crowd will get behind the team, and I think the team will find that extra 10%. And you would like to think, with the quality that we have, it will shine through eventually.
I bloody hope so, because obviously, Nelson, with like an outside kind of view, how do you kind of see things going? Do you think it's going to get very sour and toxic if we do lose tomorrow? Because essentially, we haven't got really anything to play for anymore.
Yeah, I do feel it's hard from an outside perspective. I personally feel sorry for Ange because we've spoken about on previous episodes about the fact that he's building something at the club, especially culturally. Like, we've mentioned that I sense that there was a change, especially in his first year, that something felt different at Tottenham. It felt like they were bringing back shades of Pochettino from a cultural perspective. But it just seems as though the players, in my opinion, because you can tell out there when the players are actually playing for the manager. And at times it just looks like the players have given up on him. Now, personally, look, if it was me, in the dressing room, we keep it private. I'd be like, guys, I might lose my job. And if you guys want to play for me, just go out there and give it your shot and give me one last kind of battle out there. I appreciate you guys going to war for me, but I don't know what's going to happen. But essentially, I think Andrew's tried his best to connect the fans back with the club. It hasn't happened with the performances. I do feel sorry for him personally, but to answer your question, if you guys were to lose tomorrow, I do kind of see it going a bit sour. But I think you guys are Tottenham fans. Obviously, I've spoken to you guys before, and I think you guys know it's obviously bigger than just what's going on at the pitch, on the pitch, and how it could end up just being another kind of entering another cycle of getting a new manager and whatnot. But it could turn very sour tomorrow. So fingers crossed it doesn't, but I think it will if you guys lose tomorrow.
I think you make a great point, Nelson, because obviously talking about the players playing for the manager, there's so many times we've seen the players come out and say, "Oh, we love Ange, we want to do well for Ange," but I never really see it on the pitch in the last couple of games. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's evidence in some games where you could see they're giving everything, but I think especially when we had the amount of injuries that we had, you could see the lads were giving everything still, but they were just running on fumes and they were just giving every last bit that they had, in the tank to try and do something. But I think the last two performances, I think the RZ one stunk. To be honest, it definitely stunk the gaff out. But I mean, as Spurs fans, we've seen it time and time again from players. So it wasn't so much as a shock overly, because, like I say, we've seen it. It was just more of a frustration because we thought we were getting past that. And then Sunday, it was just we got battered. Bournemouth, realistically, should have been 3-0 up at half time. like at least 3-0 up at half time. And Bournemouth will be absolutely fuming that they've dropped 2 points on Sunday because they dominated us in nearly every single department. And we're fortunate that Kepa is, not the greatest goalkeeper in the world, but he's probably still Chelsea's best goalkeeper, even though he's out on loan. That says a lot about the state of the goalkeepers at Chelsea when you've got a goalkeeper out on loan who you would argue is their best goalkeeper. I think Kepa's always been prone to mistakes and things like that. I think Sunday showed that, especially with the penalty incident. Thursday we need a reaction from everyone. I think the players, I'm getting bored of hearing the same shit in post-match interviews from the players, and it's almost like your words mean one thing, your actions mean another, and I need to start seeing actions, not words now. So that's kind of where I am with it.
No, that's spot on, I think. And obviously, we play tomorrow, but Arsenal play in about 3 minutes' time. So, Nelson, how are you you can't mess up, obviously, the lead you currently have on aggregate, can you?
You never know, Hollie. You never know in this world. Oh my goodness! Like you actually don't know, but
Bro, you got a 6-goal swing, man. Like, chill. Put
I
the
haven't.
8 out.
I haven't seen the lineup, but I'm assuming that he's going to rest players ahead of our game, I think, against Chelsea on the weekend. If it's me, I give a run out to some of the young players. I think the likes of Ethan and Miles Lewis-Skelly have been amazing, and I think a lot of Arsenal, like I said last week, we weren't expecting that result against PSV last week. So for them to go and do that, I think Arteta's probably thinking ahead to Madrid. And in my opinion, if you're resting these players and you're not really looking forward to the league, this is the only competition you have left. And depending on which Madrid wins their second leg, I'm just going full out because the Champions League is the last route. And it was very nice and entertaining, obviously, seeing Liverpool getting knocked out yesterday, which that's another subject to talk about. But yeah, I think I'm actually expecting a draw for the second leg, seeing that we'll probably play a weaker side. But I do still think we'll go through.
I was going to say, because obviously saying about that shock result yesterday, it was a madness to obviously think that Liverpool potentially were the favourites and then see someone like Doué come onto the pitch and absolutely light it on fire. It was mad, wasn't it, Nelson?
It was absolutely amazing. But I actually want to point out, Holly, that I don't think it was a shock result because I think PSG were the better team over 2 legs. Mm-hmm. The first leg, they smoked Liverpool, and I think Liverpool were lucky to leave that with a 1-0 victory. And then the second leg, I kept watching PSG, and I just said, wow, you have to give credit because we always talk about the players, but Luis Enrique has done a fantastic job getting these players to play the way he is simply envisioned. And I think when you get rid of a superstar like Kylian Mbappe and you get rid of, ego and, his dominance that he had pretty much at the club for years, I think that allowed Luis Enrique to actually flourish and be like, okay, well, I've got my team now. These are the players I can play. Everyone's going to play for each other. You clearly saw that. And I think Dembele will probably get all the headlines. Doué for me was remarkable, and Nuno Mendes probably had, Mo Salah in his pocket for longer than the 2 legs because it was sensational. You got players like technicians like Vitinha who won't get the credit. He was Wes is already making that face because he knows Vitinha. Like we're talking a guy who came at Wolves and didn't do very well, but has gone to PSG and absolutely smashed it. But when you're in the right environment, Holly, anything can happen. So you have to give credit to that PSG squad. And if I'm Aston Villa playing Bruges and thinking, I'm going through and, I'm facing PSG, I wouldn't think it's going to be a walk in the park. PSG are a dark horse. And I think that was a very good result for them. So I'm very happy to see, the red or Scouse not English, leave yesterday. So that was a very good performance. But I don't know, Wes, what were your thoughts? It was a remarkable game.
Yeah, I think obviously the British hope now lies with Aston Villa in the Champions League, right? So, is what it is at this point. But I think because I think what's gone on at PSG in the last couple of years shouldn't go unnoticed. For a long period of time, it was like, let's build a team of superstars and effectively play FIFA Ultimate Team, and then because they want to win the Champions League, and then what they did was get a direct sporting director in and let him build a project. So they got in Luis Campos, I believe, who was at Lille. And if anybody knows about the talent factory that has come out of Lille in the last few years, will know where I'm coming from with this. And they went, right, we've tried the Harlem Globetrotters. That hasn't worked. What do we need to do to kind of be successful in Europe? And Campos has gone, right, let me build you a team. Let's get a coach in that has a significant style of play. Luis Enrique has that. Who's also good at developing players. Luis Enrique ticks that box. And now they've really flipped their recruitment drive. So that's why you have players like Doué, Vitinha, João Neves, baller. You've got Ousmane Dembele, who just needed a bit of love. He's gone back home and all of a sudden he's fit again instead of being Bupa's best patient, like he was in Spain. You got centre forward in Gonzalo Ramos, who came with a big reputation. Was very hit and miss in his first season. Obviously, having to play second fiddle to probably Mbappe, and now he's starting to flourish a little bit more. So the job and the turnaround that PSG have had in their team and the structure, I think, needs to be commended. And I think that's probably now what's going to get them further in the Champions League. The Liga is done and dusted. We know that because they are the best team in there. They can pay the most wages. They can get the best players. They can cherry pick, etc., etc. But it's Europe where they want to make a dent. And I think now is probably the time for them to do that, because obviously they've knocked out one of the favourites in Liverpool. Their next game is Aston Villa.
Likely, depending if they beat Bruges, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's likely that Villa will go through, given the scoreline coming in from the first leg, 3-1, etc. I mean, especially if away goals rule was in, Villa are definitely through. But obviously, I know they've taken that away, so I suspect Villa go through. And then I think it's the route after that where it gets a little bit tasty. But I don't think anybody would want to play PSG now. I know they haven't got the global superstars and, like I say, the Harlem Globetrotters anymore. But there's still talent there that can make a difference. And they've got difference makers within their team and within their squad as well. So, yeah, I think big commendments need to be given and given their flowers to the president, sporting director and the head coach.
It's the proper way to do it, isn't it? And like you say, obviously it was a great turnaround in terms of what they've done there. And also talking about players that have been right gems, Nelson. Obviously for me and Wes, it's a bit heartbreaking, but Harry Kane is doing bits at the moment for Bayern. So obviously that being said, they're also in the mixer for the UCL. So they could go on and do something else too.
Yes, they can. I think they have I think they would have an easier bracket because I think if PSG were to beat Aston Villa, for example, they would face either Arsenal or Madrid. So, I think Bayern have the easier bracket, and I think Bayern have been really good with company in the Champions League. I think they've kind of dominated the team that they've played. I think Leverkusen. I think a lot of people are not surprised that they've fallen off after the season that they've had, simply because they've gone full out, and I don't think the players are thinking that they could repeat. I think normally when you knock off Bayern for 1 year, I think you're like, well, look, we've done it. We've knocked off that Bayern, and then I think Bayern are probably going to return to dominance. I would feel so bad for Harry Kane if they don't end up winning this season. You're just thinking, oh my gosh, can he just get one? Because we know how remarkable of a player he is, and I think his talent deserves and warrants trophies. And he deserves that. So I think company and he's just come in and slotted right in for Bayern since he's been there, and it would be such a shame if they weren't to win something this season, because I think they are definitely in the mix, especially in the Champions League. And there are some quiet gems in there, but yeah, he's remarkable, and I don't know how old he is, but he's still doing it at his age. You got to give him credit for keeping himself in shape, keeping himself fit and focused. He just has that hunger, and yeah, I just want him to win something. I'll be honest, I didn't want him to win something with you, but now that he's out and he's free, the shackles are off. I want him to. He deserves that. The talent deserves the trophies.
And I think the thing is as well, there's a lot of, obviously not you, Nelson, but there's a lot of other rival fans that are only now actually seeing what Harry Kane can do and what Harry Kane is with. And I mean, part of me is thinking, come on, win a trophy and then come back to the lane. Easy done.
Oh, listen. Harry Kane in the Tottenham team hits ridiculous numbers, by the way. Goals, frightening. But people were telling me last season that Tottenham are a better team without Harry Kane, and I'm going, you must be mental. Imagine Harry Kane in the Tottenham team. in terms of the way we play, chances that we can create, especially last season, we were creating a lot more as well. But I think with Bayern, they are always a team that you can't rule out because they have experience in abundance, like throughout the team. But when I watched them against Celtic, I was quite concerned for Bayern Munich because no disrespect to Celtic, because it's not their fault, but they haven't necessarily got the big hitters in terms of players. Yet Celtic went to the Allianz and dominated them. So you're then going, well, if Bayern come up against better opposition, they might struggle. So I think I know they swept aside Leverkusen, but I think the motivation for that game is different because they've got a point to prove. Because I think everybody was writing them off from the Bundesliga perspective, and they're going, right, well, let's show people we're still here and we can still do something. Like I say, especially from a Bundesliga point of view. But my worry for Bayern is, especially, is that if they go deeper in the competition, can they, when they come up against better opposition, are they going to go toe to toe with them, or is the quality perhaps of another team going to be to their detriment? So, for example, they might meet a Madrid in the final. I would personally look at Madrid and going, yeah, I would expect Madrid to beat Bayern. Like I say, they're not a team that you can always rule out. And yes, they'll have that home advantage because it's being played in Munich. But at the same time, I just feel like there's ways that you can get at this Bayern Munich team. And I think if a team like Celtic can expose that, then I'm worried about, the real top end elite, teams within Europe really exposing Bayern's weaknesses, and I think that will be their Achilles heel as they go deeper in the competition.
It definitely will be really interesting, for sure. And obviously, saying that, I think we should also turn our attention to the WSL, because I know last week I kind of forgot because I'm a donut. But Nelson, there's actually something good to talk about. I say good. Something interesting happened, and obviously with Man City sacking their manager. So, what do you think the kind of premises is around that? Do you think?
Well, I think City released a statement saying that they were thankful and grateful for everything that Gareth Taylor done for them, kind of competing at the top of the WSL and having deep runs in Europe. But I think they mentioned that they have a high standard, and they just pointed out that I think this season they just hadn't reached the standard. Now, for me, that was a very it was very shocking news to hear, because I have a group chat with a lot of my people that follow the WSL, and they had posted that, and I just was at work and I saw, and I was like, oh wow, he's gone. And even Alex Greenwood has come out and said that she's been shocked to hear, that he's been sacked as well. And I think he created a really good team. I think there's a lot of really ballers out there at City, and unfortunately they've missed the likes of Lauren Hemp, who's been out pretty much for the majority of the season. Khadija Shaw has had her recent issues with injury, but also in the midst of her receiving racist abuse as well. I know that that's also probably affected the dressing room too, because the girls are always backing each and every one of them. And obviously signing the likes of, Viv Miedemar, a quality play in her. You could sense that, they were going to compete, but I think this season it just hasn't been it. They lie, I think, fourth in the table, which is different to them, competing with Chelsea in the last few seasons. So I think the club have looked at that and said, you know what, this is probably the time to call it. Personally, for me, I think if they had everybody fit, we're probably talking about a different position. They'd probably be competing for the title. So I am quite shocked, and I do hope it doesn't come to. I hope it doesn't come and bite them back in a bullet, because, I think something could go wrong. Not something could go wrong, but in a sense of, because they've lost that, and whoever comes in, well, I can't remember who the interim manager is, but he's now come in, and who knows what the players will perform like, and if they're going to actually play. Again, we spoke about players playing for the manager and stuff, if they're going to be able to do that, because I think some of them will probably be hurting from the fact that Gareth Taylor's gone. So that's my view on it.
I was going to say, because it is really interesting, because obviously looking at the table, obviously they played 16, which is one more than United and Arsenal that's above them, and obviously Chelsea are top. They won their last two games, Wes. So it's a bit interesting to see that it wasn't necessarily form that was the issue. It was more a sense of, like Nelson said, they just weren't performing to the levels that they were expected to perform to.
Yeah, but I think Gareth Taylor's always come across to me as a right miserable git. Like in interviews, like he never looks happy. Do you know what I mean? Like, am I the only one just noticing that, or he just looks really? It must be the Manchester weather or something, because it's never bloody sunny over there. I know two players in particular were fairly happy with the news, and that's Chloe Kelly and Ellie Roebuck, because they posted on social media to have a little dig. But yeah, it kind of felt like Taylor had built a team, and it almost, when you get to that sort of end of cycle of a team, it kind of felt like that at City. And I think it almost screams of things going stale at City. Obviously, he'd been there a little while, and stuff, but I think, if you have a player of real quality in your mid and you're falling out with them, and I'm not just saying this male, female, this is in general here, then I always think that there's something not quite right. So the fact that Gareth Taylor had his fallouts with Chloe Kelly, bearing in mind, as Nelson mentioned, Lauren Hemp's been injured, you got to play Chloe Kelly. Like, she's an England international, an absolute baller on top of that as well. And yet you're having falling outs with those types of, and that she's a senior player, so that's never a good sign. Obviously, he fell out with Ellie Roebuck as well. She went to Barcelona. So, yeah, I think there's been rumblings of it, and it's a bit like, right, okay. Yes, you got Bunny Shaw and Viv Miedema, but I don't actually think they complement each other well enough. And it's almost like, I was actually really shocked that City got Miedema, because I'm like, well, what's going to happen to Bunny Shaw? Like, are you going to play with the front two? Well, if you play with the front two, that means Kelly and Hemp aren't really going to play, because none of them really operate as a 10. So you're going to have to then probably play with a back three, unless you go old school 4-4-2, which no one really does anymore. So yeah, there was just some things there, I think, from City in the last year, 18 months or so, that have left me scratching my head a little bit, in terms of not only for the short term, but the medium term and the long term as well. I think they've done something really smart though in getting Nick Cushion back. Because obviously he knows the club, he knows the fabric of the club at City. He's been a part of the City football group for God knows how long as well, and he knows the standard that City need to be at. So I think that's a really smart move, and I think he'll get the best out of the group. Because, like I say, it did feel like things were going a little bit stale. When I look at the state of some of the goals City were conceding, they were really soft, and that's never a good sign. If your team's conceding soft goals, that usually means that the players have had enough of the gaffer, and they're getting rid.
It'll be interesting, like you say, how it kind of all comes to a head towards, obviously we're getting to the choppy side of the kind of season now. Jesus, you can tell I'm not with it now, because it's past 8 o'clock. Jesus. But with that being said, it'll be interesting to see how it kind of all shapes up towards the end. But we're going to kind of move on, because obviously, Wes, it's your favourite time of the night. You always love this. Is my least favourite time of the night. But it is obviously time to get our FPL kind of scores on the doors. And as you can tell, I'm trying to find where I've put everything. We do not want to see mine first. So, Wes?
Yes, we did.
No, we don't. We're going to let you go along first with yours.
Yeah,
We'll zoom that in a little bit.
Yeah, Czechoslovakia, really, really difficult week. 62 points I managed to get. Kirke's assist, which was a bit helpful. But obviously Bournemouth conceding 2 goals, which didn't help. And obviously that's reflected in Huijsen's score. Captained Mo Salah. I think most people with half a brain cell would have done that, because he was playing Southampton. João Pedro finally came in clutch for me. But I think, yeah, if I take Salah out of it, I've had an absolute stinker. I'm toying with the idea of taking Palmer out, because he's been bang out of form. And I thought actually him and Nkunku would do quite well against Leicester. Palmer then misses a penalty. So I'm there like, yeah, cheers. But yeah, not the greatest in terms of all round. Obviously, Salah gets me nearly half my points. So that kind of says it all in terms of how I did at the weekend, to be fair.
I mean, I'm not even going to talk about mine. We're gonna move on, obviously, to Nelson's, because mine's it's not great. But you have done well, Wes. I'm intrigued, obviously, what you're going to do with Mo Salah, whether you're going to keep him or not. But let me find Nelson's. Bosh.
I'll probably use a chip this
Oh
weekend,
my gosh. Wes knows I was fuming when João Pedro scored. I was absolutely raging because, look, when it comes to FPL, garner the spirit of the African Cup of Nations. We love to see our country do good, but we love to see our enemies do worse. So for me, just seeing João Pedro come in clutch, I was just like, no, you're joking. But as you can see, my bench there, I could have had 64 points because my bench in Elanga, Digne, and Henderson, I was absolutely fuming. So when Southampton scored, you're thinking, well, I brought you in for clean sheets and you've not done anything. And it's just, it's gone tits up. So like Wes said, Salah, I feel so sorry for those who had Captain Palmer because I think they thought that the favourable fixture of Leicester could have got them somewhere. But, Salah's going on to 2020 season, you just can't not captain him. And it's Southampton and he did the business. And if, he saved, I think, a lot of people's seasons this year. And I think he's gone on, fun fact, he's gone on to, score the most points ever in an FPL season. He's broken his own record from when 2017-18, which is ridiculous because we're only in game week 29. So, I don't know about this weekend and what I'm looking for this weekend, Holly, but in terms of my performance, it was bang on average. I'm not really happy with it. So, yeah, that's kind of my take. I am still fuming from last weekend.
Although, Holly, just before you get your team up, Nelson insisted on keeping Visser in his team for the weekend, and I said to him, there's going to be a Watkins and Rodgers masterclass, and then who scored for Villa? Watkins. Who then got the next goal? Morgan Rodgers, although it was offside. And Nelson was just like, you're a fucking idiot. Yeah, I hate you.
It feels like the master has given the baton over to the apprentice.
Oh, Holly, oh my gosh, I'm fuming. He's just coming there and he knows what he's doing now. He's just plucking at the... I have given him his credit because most people would falter, but he's now he's fighting for top 6 now, so he's in there.
So talking about people that falter, Jesus Christ!
Let's get your team up, Holly.
Look at this status.
Oh my word!
And look, he's on the bench.
Who is on the bench? Oh my, João Pedro!
That's what you get for leaving it and leaving it and leaving it. Yeah, I've had an absolute stinker. I have a stinker every week, I think, because as we all know, I'm not very good at sorting my team out or sorting my life out.
Do you actually have the Premier League app, Holly? Because it feels like you don't have it because nothing changes.
Oh yeah, it's there. It's there next to Strava, but I don't use that either. So.
Can I give you a tip? Fucking use it.
Noted.
Great.
Maybe next week. Yeah, but this is what will happen. I'll use it and then I'll get less points than 26.
Yeah, but you're going to use it this week when you've got a Carabao Cup final and then there's not as many games.
Oh,
so
yeah, that's true.
You're stitching yourself here.
Yeah, I don't know. I need to sort my life out. Maybe next year. Maybe we'll try it again next year.
Isn't that what Arsenal have said the last 3 years when they've been going for the league?
You sound like us. Yeah,
oh God! Right, moving on.
Like a Liverpool fan when they were fighting out for the league. It's year, lads. Next year.
Oh dear. Yeah. No, I will. I won't. I will hopefully do it next year. But no, it's good to sit there and see you guys doing points, and obviously Wes, you now actually know what you're doing, which is quite nice, and then you can take the mick out of me. So no, it's good fun. So it's fun.
Yeah, I was getting fed up of just getting the piss taken out of me every week, to be fair. So went on the Premier League app and tried to sort my life out, to be honest.
It's fine. I'll take the brunt of all the jokes because someone has to do it at the minute. But you know what? Hopefully, I'll pick it up at some point. But you know what? It's been a great show tonight. I've actually really enjoyed it. It's amazing what happens when I actually decide to turn up and do things, because it is very nice to not always talk about Tottenham, to have a little bit in there, but then mix it up with other things. And you'll be very impressed that I actually watched the Liverpool PSG game yesterday, which is a first. But we'll go around and say our goodbyes and say where we can find us all. So, Nelson, thank you again for coming on. Like I say, it's always good fun. Where can the people find you?
Thank you for having me, Holly. Great episode again. You guys can find me on Instagram at nnatumba25. So that's N and then my surname Natumba and then 25. N Natumba 25.
Bosh, lovely stuff. And I know, I need to sort my life out, but I will at some point. But
Hollie, you seriously have to now. If my mum, who never plays FPL and everything else, is telling you to sort your life out, then you need to seriously do it.
Yeah, I know. I've been told now. I've got to do it. But Wes, go on then, my
Yes.
friend. Do your thing.
Right, Twitter at Wezo10, unofficial Moussa Dembele fan account, as everybody knows by now, tweeting things about the best Belgian to grace Premier League shores. Started to tweet in more things about Tottenham, which is going to get me in trouble, I'm sure, at some point. And I'll probably end up getting cancelled or deleted, probably, for something. So that'll be good fun. Instagram is at Wezo32, usually at Spurs home games. I'm there Thursday, going with a friend as well. So, yeah, looking forward to that. And then obviously Kofa and Kickoff a Football Academy for anything football coach related in Dele Alli, Leah Williamson and Kevin Danso country. And then sometimes if I'm not at games, as you know, Hollie, I'm on the Park Lane podcast on Sundays at 7:00. So if there are any Spurs fans watching, tune in, but also make sure you're liking the videos, subscribing to the channels, etc., all the good stuff, so we can keep it all rolling and moving.
Bosh, I like it. No, it has been good fun tonight. Like I say, go make sure you subscribe, like, comment, do all that good stuff. And like I say, it's been fun. We'll be back next week as well, hopefully, to do this once again. Jesus, 3 in a row. Woo! We're doing things. I need to sort out the goodbye screen though, because I haven't done that, obviously, as per norms. I'm still getting used to it all, to be honest with you. And I don't know where the bloody hell I put it. So I think we're just going to wrap it up with that. And until next time, like we always say, come on you Spurs.
Come on you Spurs.